Mr. Godot.
I've seen you before, haven't I?
I don't know, sir.
You don't know me?
No, sir.
It wasn't you came yesterday?
No, sir.
This is your first time?
Yes, sir.
Words.
Beckett was an Irish novelist, playwright, short story writer, theatre director, poet, and literary translator. This presentation will bring everyone to know Beckett and his masterpiece Waiting for Godot.
Brief summary of Arthur's life. Samuel Beckett, the Irish playwright, theatre director, novelist, and poet, is one of the most influential writers of 20th century. Early life and Paris. Beckett was born in Dublin in 1906, where as a young man he studied French, Italian, and English at Trinity College. He went to Paris for the first time in 1928. He would spend most of his adult life there to teach English. During World War II, his Irish citizen allowed him to remain in Paris, and he worked as a courier for the French resistance. Playwriting. After the war, Beckett settled in Paris and began a prolific period as a writer. His most famous play, Waiting for Godot, was first performed in 1953 at the Théâtre de Babylone on the left bank in Paris. A young Peter Home directed the language premiere in 1955 at the Art Theatre in London. With its emphasis on silence and repetition, it confused some critics. Howard Hobson, while positive, found nothing in it. Thucydides and censors, and delight authors. Kenneth Tynan believed that the play had changed the rules of theatre. Novel writing and later life. In 1960, Beckett also published 3 novels, including Molloy. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1969 and died in 1989. He is buried in Montparnasse Cemetery in Paris.
Plot summary and conflict. The play consists of conversation between Vladimir and Efragan, who are waiting for the arrival of the mysterious Godot, who continually sends word that he will appear, but who never does. They encounter Lucky and Percy. They discuss their misery and their loss in life. They consider hanging themselves, and yes, they will. Often perceived as being friends, Vladimir and Efragan are a pair of human beings who do not know why they were put on earth. They make the tenuous assumption that there must be some point to their existence, and they look to Godot for enlightenment, because they hold out hope for meaning and direction. They acquire a kind of nobility that enables them to rise above their future existence.
Interesting characters. Vladimir, one of the 2 main characters of the play. Efragan called him Didi, and the boys added him as Mr. Albert. He seems to be more responsible and mistress of the 2 main characters. Efragan, the second of the 2 main characters. Vladimir called him Gogo. He seems weak, careless, and always looking for Vladimir's protection. He also has a poor memory, as Vladimir had to remind him the second act of the event that happened the previous night. Also, He tests by the spot where Vidimers and Aristarchus are waiting and provides a diversion. In the second act, he is by and does not remember meeting Vidimers and Aristarchus the night before. Lucky pursues the lips, Vulcarius pursues bags and stool. In Act 1, he entertained by dancing and thinking. However, in Act 2, he is dumb. The boy, he appears at the end of each act to inform Vidimers that Godot will not be coming that night. In the second act, he insists that he was not there the previous night. And the Ravans, Godot, the man from whom Vidimers and Aristarchus waits unendingly. Godot never appears in the play. His name and characters are often thought to refer God.
Theme and important quotation of Waiting for Godot. Waiting for Godot is an existentialist play. It presents many themes of existentialism, such as absurdity, nothingness, futility, uncertainty, nihilism, throwing into being, angst, anxiety, and disappearance of solution on the part of human beings who are left exploited, suffering, and bewildered by powerful force of bourgeoisie prevalent in the social formation. Therefore, its main theme is also absurdity. The play describes existentialist philosophy and its absurdity. It possesses an overall feeling of absurdity, while simultaneously express many other themes of existentialism. Absurd is, in fact, an existentialist term which describes an existence of world without the inherent meaning of truth. Secondly, meaningless of life is significant theme. None of the character has a meaningful purpose in life. The human was dumped into the world and abandoned by God. There is nothing to do with this situation except waiting, and it is not clear that waiting will be solution to find a meaning. Gogo and Didi want to commit suicide because there is no meaning in life, but they could not. Again, there is no clear knowledge what will happen after death. This makes them suffer from the repetition of moment and meaningless life. This is the folly of seeking meaning. It represents futility and folly of such a search for meaning in an inherently meaningless existence. Human beings are born without asking to be born, and they die without seeking to die. The third theme is uncertainty of time presents a slew of problems in Waiting for Godot. The very title of the play reveals its central action, waiting. The two main characters are forced to wither away their day while anticipating the arrival of a man who never comes, because they have nothing to do in the meantime. Time is a dreaded barrier, a test of their ability to endure, because they repeat the same action every day. Time is cyclical. That every character seems to have a faulty the memory future complicated matter. Time loses meaning when the action of one day have no relevance or certainty on the next. And the fourth theme is suffering is a constant and fundamental part of human existence in Waiting for Godot. Every character suffer and suffer away, with no seeming respite inside. The hardship range of the physical to the mental, the minor to the extreme. It drives some men to find companionship, cause others to abuse their companion, to listen the suffering of the self, and force still others to self-isolation, since watching people suffer is a kind of anguish on its own. Vladimir and Estragon suffer not for lack of happiness, but for lack of certainty. It is worse to not know whether or not they are miserable than to be certain of their anguish.
The setting is a country road near a leafless tree where two men, Vladimir and Estragon, are waiting for a arrival of a man named Godot. The mood of waiting for Godot is one absurd singularity. The play main character, Vladimir and Estragon, spend the entire play waiting around for someone who never shows up. This singularity also pops up in the Ireland's conversation that are featured in line like, "Let us not then speak ill of our generation, it is not unhappy than its predecessor. Let us not speak well of it either." The play's singularity underlies the tragic comedy dimension of the story. This is the existentialist idea. That's why it's basically absurd. But in this context, absurd doesn't mean funny, but a kind of dizzying bewilderment and hopelessness. The play asks the reader and the viewer to consider the search for meaning that comes from outside of oneself as futile exercise.
Beckett uses to highlight the religious content is symbolism. In the book, Vladimir represents the mental half, while Estragon represents the physical half. However, both characters do share one thing in common, which is that they are both dependent on God. The only thing they do is sit under the tree, waiting for Godot. He officially represents God. Although no one has ever seen it, many still believe in it. Moreover, the boy represents the Bible. At the end of the book, this boy delivers a message from Godot. "Mr. Godot told me to tell you he won't come this evening, but surely tomorrow." And person who possesses the place of being decisive, powerful, and very confident in our situation represent the false prophet. With this characteristic, Estragon and Vladimir immediately mistook him for Godot. Thus, person says he isn't God, but does have God-like features. As far as one can see, it's the same species as myself, or the same species as person, made in God's image.